Hello my fellow Tamrielites, it's May and Update 46, the Season of the Worm Cult Part 1, is right around the corner. Update 46 will drop on June 2nd for PC Mac and June 18 for console. It brings us a whole bevy of fun new rewards and I'm here to show you every one of them and how to get them so that you can decide what to go after first. One disclaimer before we jump in. While I confirm everything I can, all this information comes from the PTS and patch notes, which means details might change when the patch goes live. I intend for these videos to be perpetual references, but if you are living in the future and the patch is already live, I recommend you confirm drop sources before grinding. Also, please check the video description for any corrections or updates. I will add them there. On that note, if you see something in the video that is wrong, please speak up in the comments and I'll put a correction in the description. I try to kill all the errors, but you know how it is. Nature finds a way. That is all our fine print, so let's dive into the new rewards, starting with this beautiful house I'm walking through. This is the Bismuth Steam Baths, and it will be available to purchase for gold after you unlock the achievement Western Solstice Grand Adventurer, which is completing 16 unique quests in Western Solstice. Solstice is primarily home to the Tideborn Argonians and the Corlania High Elves, so this home is in the ancient Elven style, like the Grand Sigic Villa. The name of the home is the Bismuth Steam Baths. For those who aren't familiar with the word, bismuth is a real mineral, although specimens on Earth are generally small. But yeah, it really does grow in that shape. The Earth version is softer than it is in Solstice because here it has a Mohs hardness of 2.25. For reference, on that scale, talc is a 1 and a diamond is 10, meaning that here on Earth it's possible to scratch bismuth very easily. Despite that relative softness, it's also super brittle and shatters if dropped. And because chemistry is like magic with rules, bismuth is also the core ingredient in Pepto-Bismol and other stomach remedies. And surely by this point you're asking, Zels, why are you on about this? The thing is, giant bismuth deposits are common on Solstice and it's a major decorative element, so it pops up several times. Since I'm going to keep using that word over and over, I thought an introduction might be helpful. As an example, our Adornment reward from Update 46 is the Solstice Bismuth Tiara. This is earned by completing the quest The Writhing Wall, which is the 4th quest out of 5 in the main zone story questline. Obviously, bismuth on Tamriel is sturdier stuff than it is on Earth. We generally don't use bismuth in jewelry because it tends to not hold up long term. However, I jumped ahead to showing the Adornment, but there is another player home to look at before we move on to Furnishings. In the city of Sunport, the inn's quest giver is waiting to offer you residence in the Sleepy Sloth Inn Room. It is a lovely little 30-item count box that gives you a nice way to port back to the city for free. And you can also decorate it if you're the sort of person to do that. It's a nice sized room with enough ceiling to easily create a sleeping nook above a main floor if you wished. One additional player home was featured on the PTS this cycle, an Iliad-style home called the Theater of the Ancients, but it won't be dropping with Update 46. It will be a Crown Store offering sometime after that. Since it isn't a reward, I won't be featuring it in this video. In the meantime, as promised, let's look at the furnishings. We'll start with the 77 new craftable plans that will be dropping with Update 46. In our first batch, we've got a collection of high elven furnishings and painting supplies. I'm very happy about this. I'm decorating my Sea Bloom Villa in Oradon as an artist's retreat, and I really wanted blank canvases and bowls of pigment. And now it is time for the Tideborn Argonians to shine, because here is the first set of Tideborn furnishing plans. If beach is your deal, these are fabulous. We'll see an emphasis on fishing in the achievements, and I wouldn't be surprised to see beach vibe houses in the Crown Store during the season of the Worm Cult. I should mention, the set names I'm using don't refer to their classifications in the housing editor. I just grouped like-ish things together and then filled the rest in, trying to show everything well. This set has a lot of art pieces, and the turtle is cute. It's hard for me to look at wicker without remembering all the wicker I've cleaned in my life, but once I remind myself that I don't have to dust the pixels, I do like it a lot more. And some of the lights are cool, will fit in a lot of places. And they're totally free of childhood trauma. I mean, at least for me. I hope you're okay too. I really hope you don't have any baggage about bismuth. Regardless of where you lie on the wicker versus OCD spectrum, whether you're a fan of the beach scene or not, even if you are decidedly anti-Argonian, I think a lot of us will be able to agree that these fire pits are fantastic additions and will fit in a large number of home styles and build themes. And by sweet Mara's apron strings, we get 3 options. I could swoon. Oh, the homes I want to update now. Before I go off on that tangent, let me also point out the containers, many of which would be at home in an alchemy lab as well as on a beach. To be honest, I assumed I wouldn't be spending a lot of time farming the plans from this new zone, but I gotta say I wanted a lot more of these than I expected. I want lemon and lime slices on most of my bars, for example. But let's talk a little about drops and farming. The patch notes said that 77 plans will be added, and that 4 of those plans would come from Algae-Laden Sunport Packs. I think, maybe, the plans for 4 of the food items on this table are sourced that way. So what are Algae-Laden Sunport Packs? As appropriate, fishing strongly influences the cultures of Western Solstice, and the achievements reflect that as they feature fishing in several ways. In related news, fishing is how you get Algae-Laden Sunport Packs, which drop a variety of crafting-related items, including, according to the patch notes, 4 furnishing plans as well as 12 furnishing items. I fished for a while, but RNG did not bless me with a plan or a furnishing, so I cannot tell you that I know which plans drop from fishing. Could be some of the art pieces we saw earlier, or those lights that look like coral. However, here's why I think it's the food items. The patch notes also said 12 furnishings, that's furnishings, not plans, will also drop from Algae-Laden Sunport Packs. These items are not craftable, and I believe they are the ones that will be dropping from the Algae-Laden Sunport Packs. If that's true, then it follows that plans for furnishings made from these raw foods might also drop from the same source. Please let us know in the comments if you get a plan or a furnishing from one of these packs after the update goes live, and which ones. I'll go into more details later, but in case it's an incentive, the code giveaways for this video will be drawn from the comments. So whatever you get from those fishing packs, come back and let us know. I have been interrupting myself all over the place, but to recap, we finished the craftable furnishings and we're now in the furnishings that cannot be crafted but must be found in the wild. We just covered the fishing ones. These 10 pieces come from harvesting nodes in Solstice. The bismuth pieces are from blacksmithing and jewelry nodes, and the plants drop from alchemy or clothing nodes. Here is our assortment of new wall art, which drops from treasure chests. It's going to be a love it or hate it kind of deal, I think. I consistently like the blocky little turtles, but I've never wanted a tapestry of a snake on my wall. I actually like snakes in real life, if they aren't the ones that might try and kill me, but I don't much care for Sithis just hanging out in my living room. I get that accepting change and the end is the heart of Argonian belief, but I don't know. There's accepting that entropy exists and will affect you, and then there's inviting it into your living room, right? Hard pass on that second one. But I suppose the difference between home invitations and infestations is in the eye of the beholder, because speaking of agents of chaos, the unfinished art project is my personal crack, and I can't stop inviting the damn things into my studio where they then live rent-free for fetching ever, so of course I'm excited about these. They touch my very soul. They will probably be super rare and cost millions of gold. The last batch of furnishings that can be found in Western Solstice come from pickpocketing. As you can see, there's a lot of crossover between these and the food items I showed earlier, but I did pickpocket a lime in Sunport, so I believe the lists are straight. Again, we have a bunch of furnishings that I'm going to love using in bars and kitchens. I've wanted lemons for a long time, and with Update 46, we'll also have limes, pineapples, and mangoes. I'm really being won over to the idea of building a beach bar. Next up, we have furnishing items we can buy for gold. Specifically, these batches are from the home goods vendor in Sunport. We're starting out with the beach items, including a couple of huge pieces of driftwood, beach grass, and those magnificent shells, which, guys, now I need to redo the aquarium I just built in the Hall of the Lunar Champion. Hey, remember when I was going on and on about bismuth and I promised it would keep being relevant? 2 large pieces can be purchased and added to your bathhouse or any other place you want some extra geometric sparkle. Honestly, I've always loved bismuth with its funky squares and shiny colors, and I feel like a kid in a candy store with all of it scattered around Solstice. The home goods vendor can also sell you some really lovely vining plants with intensely pink flowers. As a rule, the color saturation on the plants of Solstice is especially high, and the flowers are beautifully vibrant. I appreciate the variety of these 4 pieces. I haven't tried it myself, but I seem to recall something in the patch notes that said the vines had been adjusted so they could be climbed on. If that's true, it would be fun to make them into a hidden ladder used to access a secret area of a garden. I'm intrigued. We can also buy a large assortment of palm trees from the home goods vendor, most of them in large and small sizes, or a single versus a set. I always appreciate having several sizes of a plant, especially large ones, as it looks so much more like natural growth. Our last set of furnishings from the home goods vendor are 2 wind-swept trees. Speaking of plants you can walk on, I'm thinking that horizontal tree would be an excellent addition to a garden maze with hidden entrances, and man, I am really talking myself into building this. I do not have time for garden maze nonsense. I fear, however, it is already too late and some little part of my brain has committed itself. That's it for the home goods vendor, and next up is the achievement furnishings vendor, who has 8 new pieces for sale if you've unlocked the related achievement. Our first item from him is the huge doorway made of Daedric vertebra. It can be purchased after unlocking the achievement Ossian Cage Vanquisher, which is completing the new trial on normal. I don't have an immediate need for a huge bone door, but on the other hand, it does have real potential in creepy builds. I can't say it's pretty, but it is an interesting addition as a tinker toy. I'm looking forward to seeing how the community uses this. Next is the Inert Portal, and this one I just straight up love. It can be purchased after completing the public dungeon group event in Western Solstice. When housing first started, I wanted to build a Mage's Guild Hall, but I just couldn't do it. We didn't have access to a lot of the clutter that they have, and more importantly, there weren't furnishings or special effects to look at like magey stuff was in progress. We've got a fair number of them now, and I fall in love with every single one of them and appreciate them like the little gems they are. And no, you are wrong. I did not just add Mage's Guild Hall to my project list. It was already on the list. Next up, we have a truly giant formation of selenite, which forms in caves when watered. I'm just kidding, it's bismuth. This piece can be purchased after unlocking the achievement Western Solstice Cave Delver, which includes clearing 3 delves in Western Solstice. We'll look at the achievements later, but for most of them, Zos basically split the zone in half. So on this achievement, it's 3 delves instead of the usual 6. That's true overall, but there are a couple of exceptions. Then we've got 3 banners associated with achievements. On the far left, the Worm Cult banner can be purchased after unlocking the achievement Archmage Whisperer, which is step 4 out of 5 in the main zone story quest. The center banner is for the city of Sunport, and it is unlocked via the achievement Sunport Savior, which is the second step of the main zone story quest out of 5. The banner on the far right is for subclassing, and you can get it after unlocking the achievement The Path to Learning. That's just unlocking subclassing, which will take you about 5 minutes. I'll talk more about that when I cover subclassing at the end of the video. Next up, we have the Tideborne Boat, which you can purchase after unlocking the achievement Western Solstice Master Angler, the fishing achievement. Yes, fishing. I promised there'd be more talk of it later, and here we are. We'll have another fishing achievement boat to look at shortly after this, but before we move on, I want to note that the black area at the prow of the boat is a missing texture. I can't say if it will be fixed before Update 46 goes live, but the devs do know about it and are troubleshooting it. Our 8th and final piece from the achievement vendor, and one of my personal favorites, is the Ceremonial Tideborne Pool. You can buy this after unlocking the achievement Solstice Pathfinder, and this achievement is a little different than the ones I talked about before. The Pathfinder achievements are unlocked by visiting points of interest in a zone marked on the zone by an eye. However, on this particular achievement, instead of listing just places in Western Solstice that we can access now, this Pathfinder achievement also lists unknown spots in Eastern Solstice. That means this achievement cannot be completed until the 3rd quarter, when the rest of the zone will unlock. The Tideborne Ceremonial Pool is very Argonian, so it won't fit just everywhere, but this is a really great water feature. That's it for the achievement vendor in Sunport, but the global achievement vendor in each Alliance capital city has an additional 2 pieces. The first of these is the Molag Bal plaque, which can be purchased after finishing the main quest of the game, Soul Shriven in Cold Harbor. It's double-sided, which can give interesting options, though you can't see that the way I mounted it, so I showed the piece in the vendor's inventory before switching over here. And since I've got a few extra seconds, I'll mention that if you haven't subscribed or clicked the like button yet, you are making the algorithm sad. I'm not necessarily saying that the algorithm and RNG are friends, but I'm not saying they're not either. This covered pontoon boat is a real showboat of a boat. I said there was another boat coming, and here it is. You can purchase it after finishing a new fishing achievement, Commemorative Master Angler. There's already an achievement for catching all the fish in the base game zones, but there hasn't been an overarching meta achievement for completing the Master Angler achievements in all of the DLC zones until now. And it's this achievement that is required to purchase the new Argonian houseboat, and wow, what a great piece this is. It has so much fantastic detail on it. That's all the achievement furnishings for sale from the vendors, but of course there is also a trophy and bust available for completing the new trial, Ossian Cage on Normal and Bet respectively. They are both nice looking pieces, and I'm a big fan of this new trend of adding spots of color to the bronze of the busts. It makes each distinctive. Then we have the Antiquity furnishings, and we're going to dive in with these huge crocodile fossils. There are 3 of them in total: the skull, ribcage, and tail. The skull appears to be a common purple lead in Solstice, as I saw it drop from several sources. Personally, I prefer the large shells for beach decor, but wow, these are quite the statement pieces. Our next batch of Antiquity furnishings are the stone nest totem poles. These are perfect if you are building in Argonian ruins, but I don't know that they have a lot of other uses. We have some great structural pieces now, so I wouldn't necessarily use them as columns or building blocks. They pretty much are what they are. Very old Argonian, which is great if you think that's great, and probably boring if you don't. This, of course, is a lovely piece of jade. Jade is a 6 or 7 on the Mohs scale, depending on the variety, making it an excellent material for carving statues and jewelry. It's highly prized in many earth cultures, and of course I'm kidding because this is bismuth. I love the surface textures of these pieces, the color shift, the way they bounce light. And this one is actually a soft ambient light source all on its own. It's metallic and shimmery, and the stepped cube shape lends itself to all kinds of creative uses. The shape makes this one particularly fantastic tinker toy, and I am such a magpie, and I clearly have a bias, and now I feel bad about dissing the Argonian stone totems. And we end our tour of the Antiquity furnishings with a look at the new music box. This piece has 5 leads, and I'll shut up a bit and let it play. He is a cute little crab. Also note the little bits of bismuth sticking to the crab shell before we go. I do appreciate a commitment to a theme. Our little crab brings us to the end of the Antiquity furnishings, and we're almost done with furnishings as a whole, but there is one more thing to mention. 2 words, my friends: furnishing vault. I recently did a video on ways to address your housing inventory issues, including rethinking how to use storage houses. I'll put a card on the screen with a link to that video. In it, I speculated about possible solutions for housing inventory, given that the infinite furnishing bag we've all wanted for so long isn't possible due to server strain. One of the possible alternatives I suggested was a 500 count storage chest that would just hold furnishings, because transferring pieces between houses is such a pain point when doing a build. I had no idea that exact thing was in the works. When I first saw it during the live stream, I immediately knew what it was, and I was all capping "Furnishing Vault" in chat like the total fangirl I am. This is what it looks like, and looks alone, it's pretty magnificent. 500 item slots just for furnishings. I'll keep mine as open as possible except when I'm transferring furnishing items from storage houses during a build. I mean, I'm always working on a build, but that's where the build furnishings will go while I'm testing and transferring. My character can only hold about 100 items, so a lot of my build time is carrying things back and forth. This will cut down on that a lot. That brings us to the end of the new furnishings. Switching gears now, Update 46 will bring us 5 new skill styles available in different ways. 3 of our new skill styles in Update 46 are sold by specialty vendors, and 2 are achievements. Maj in the Undaunted Camp sells the green variant for Uppercut in the 2-handed weapon line for Undaunted keys. Similarly, Filer Tejers in the Infinite Archive sells a green variant for the Destructive Touch skills in the Destructive Staff weapons line in exchange for Archival Fortunes. Meanwhile, in your Cyrodiil base camp, your friendly War Researcher merchant sells an orange version of the Flare skill in the Alliance Support skill line for AP. The 2 new skill styles earned from achievements both affect the Vampire line, and both are purples. The Lilac Purple skill style for Mist Form is unlocked via a fragment chase, and the achievement gives you the list of places you need to go. The Violet Purple skill style for the Eviscerate skill set unlocks by collecting and using vials of tainted blood, which are in the public dungeon collectible fragments found in Di Tragato and Solstice. And here's what the 5 skill styles look like. While these are running, if you are enjoying the video, you can support the channel by doing any of the usual YouTube-y things. Click the like button, subscribe, comment on the video, all that good stuff. The algorithm also really loves it when you share the video link to other platforms. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever, share the link with the hashtag ESO and tag Zos at the Elder Scrolls Online. The share pleases the algorithm, and the tags help it to get to other people who will want to see it so it doesn't just get tossed into the void. I'll also mention that Super Thanks is active on the channel, so if you want to buy me a cup of coffee to celebrate my organizational skills, I'd certainly appreciate it. I said I would talk about the code giveaways later. It is now later. Let's do that. Around July 4th, I will do a drawing from the comments, and 3 people will get a free code for 1 month subscription to ESO. You can only win once. All comments will count, but if you are fishing and get a plan for a furnishing item from any of those packs, or if you can correct or update any info I've given, please do. Also, Please upvote any comments that list drop sources you personally can confirm. That'll help get a sense of outliers. That wraps up skill styles and brings us to the new gear sets. One very important caveat. I filmed these sets midway through the PTS run, and some stats will undoubtedly be adjusted before you see them live in June. The first set we're looking at here is the Craftable set available in Western Solstice, which is Tideborn Wildstalker. Then we have our 3 new Overland sets, starting with the Heavy Armor Full Belly Barricade. It's a tanky set, as to be expected. I'll follow it up in a bit with the medium set, Death Dancer. Pages from this motif will drop from Sunport Daily Reward coffers, and let's talk about this motif. I used no green in dyeing the heavy or medium sets. It's Telvanni Walnut, Lucent Shard Azure, and Divine Gold. Everything that looks green is part of the motif and cannot be dyed. Those pieces echo the squared spiral shape used by Argonian artisans, but that's also the way bismuth grows, and I believe those bits are actually meant to be inlaid bismuth. However, the style mat for this motif is not bismuth, it's Tideborn feathers, which surprised me until I noticed all of the feathers, and speaking of those, they also do not dye, and they have a sort of an orange tint. I chose the dye colors on the heavy and medium armors so that the green shapes and the feathers would stand out and that it would be clear about which bits can't be dyed. But that means the colors aren't really an attractive look. I see a lot of players wearing various Argonian motifs, so I know the style has fans. For those folks, I wanted to give the motif a chance to shine, and so I did the light armor in dye colors that flatter the undyeable bits rather than fighting them. And I liked this motif a lot more when the colors echoed the motif's inherent palette. I'll show the robe in a few seconds, but first a bit of lore. This set is called the Three Queens. That's because the High Elves originally came to the island after fleeing Somerset due to religious differences, which means worshipping Daedra. The Coriolannia Elves worship 3 in particular: Meridia, Azura, and Nocturnal. The Athelia lore from elsewhere definitely casts Meridia and the Magna-Gi as opponents of Azura, Boethra, and Mephala, who are depicted as a 3-in-1 Trinity figure. The 3 Queens worship on Solstice is a really interesting twist to all that. But for now, we're moving on to gear that drops in the Ossian Cage trial, starting with the heavy set, Dolores Arena. The motif is called Cold Harbor Dominator. I'll talk more about the dyes later, but we'll be getting in 2 new ones with Update 46, one of which is unlocked by doing the trial on normal. That dye is Dolores Indigo, a gorgeous deep color which is on the costume I wear for most of the video, and it's shown on this armor. Our medium armor set from Ossian Cage is Caspian's Cruel Signet. I should mention that, as usual, the trial sets drop in both normal and perfected versions, from normal and vet mode respectively. I'm showing the perfected versions. I'll take a moment to repeat that the exact numbers will probably be different than these when the update goes live, so it's a good idea to check more recent sources. The first of our light sets is Harmony and Chaos for damage dealers. The 5th piece bonus procs off synergies. Whether or not that works for your character is between you and your raid leader. I don't see it working well for most solo play because you often can't activate your own synergies, but with some spells you can, so it really just depends on your gameplay. The motif for both light sets is the same, so I'll switch over to the second light set, Recovery Convergence, to do the full 360. It'll give the other dye color in Update 46 a chance to be seen. This is a healing and recovery set, which is a nice combination, but I don't think it will replace the current healing meta. As for the motif, as usual with trial gear, pages of the Cold Harbor Dominator motif will drop from the weekly trial coffers. The green dye on this armor is Shell-Tide Green, which is the second dye color available in Update 46. Shell-Tide Green is the reward for unlocking the achievement Hero of Western Solstice, the meta achievement for Western Solstice. I'll cover the achievements in more detail later. That finishes up the trial gear sets and brings us to the final pieces of new gear, the Antiquity Mythics. We started with the ring called Monomyth Reforged. When on the front bar, you get damage bonuses, but also minor vulnerability. When on the back bar, you get protection buffs, but also minor timidity. I don't know about the effectiveness of this mythic, but I will say that I think the name Monomyth Reforged is a clue about what's happening in the Athelia storyline. While I was babbling about that, my clips moved on to the next mythic, Rakut's Void Mantle. I think all the elsewhere stuff has to do with Athelia too, and here's a mythic pointing us back to the Maw of Lorcaj trial. Our last mythic is the Mad God's Dancing Shoes. And now, a word to our sponsor. Look, Uncle Sheo, you know I love you, but you also know that there is a part of my brain that sometimes gets upset that other people aren't following rules I made up for myself that they don't even know about, and that same part of my brain cannot handle gear that does random things. That part of my brain feels gear shouldn't be random. It should do one thing all the time, reliably, and when it doesn't, it is breaking the rules. So, yes, my darling, they are cute little shoes. They are adorable, but I will not be wearing them, and it is your damn fault that random things make me irrationally angry, and you know that. Let us not speak of this again. Thus concludes the word to our sponsor. As I have mentioned, the new dyes coming with Update 46 are Dolores Indigo, a deep purple blue that's almost black, and Shell-Tide Green, a vibrant mid-green. Dolores Indigo is the reward for the achievement Ossian Cage Vanquisher, which is clearing the trial on normal mode. Shell-Tide Green is the reward for unlocking Hero of Western Solstice. It's the usual Hero of Meta achievement for doing the zone activities: delves, world bosses, public dungeon group event, and questing. It's a very rich, highly saturated color, as tends to be true for Solstice. And then there's our new outfit style. It's called Chaplain of the Worm. I don't normally like skulls in my outfit styles, but if I'm ever going to wear one, it'll be this one. I mean, it glows. Of course I love it. Each piece of this outfit style drops from a different source, each linked to achievements. The last of our aesthetic rewards is a skin from an Ossian Cage trial achievement, and 3 body and face markings from the Cyrodiil War Researcher vendor for AP. We'll start with the skin, Retribution of Titans, which is the reward for finishing the Ossian Cage trial on vet mode. I will say this is not my favorite skin ever, but the game is not about me and other people have different tastes. Vet mode is not hard mode, no timed run or anything, so if you do love this, it won't take months to get, and I will be happy for you. Then we have the body and face markings. These are available for sale from the War Researcher merchant in Cyrodiil, in the Alliance base camps. There is a face marking and a body marking for each Alliance for a total of 6 pieces, and each piece costs 250,000 AP. Each War Researcher merchant sells all 3 sets no matter which base camp they are in. All 3 have a metallic sheen and cover large areas of the body. These are definitely my favorites of all the Alliance markings. When I saw Alliance markings on the patch notes, I assumed the faces would prominently feature eagles, lions, and dragons, but that isn't the case, and I like that these face markings are abstract enough that you can wear them outside of PvP context. I went to the War Researcher on my template character who had all the skill lines maxed out. These markings were not locked for purchase, and I don't know if an achievement has to be unlocked to purchase them. If they require, for example, a certain rank with the skill line, I wouldn't have been able to see that and don't have any way of checking it. Still, if you have enough AP to buy these, you probably qualify to do so. Next up on the reward list, we have the new pet and mount coming with the Season of the Worm Cult in June. The pet is a quest reward and the mount is from the new trial. Let's take a look. First up is our new pet, the Solstice Sloth, who is pretty darn adorable. This sleepy guy with the big claws is a reward for unlocking the achievement Bearer of Life and Death, which you do by completing the main zone story for Western Solstice. I'll have a chart of all the rewards associated with the main quest at the end of the video. Then there's the Heart's Grief Welma mount. This heavyweight is a reward from the Ossian Cage trial achievement Worth the Pain. Worth the Pain is the meta achievement for doing all the things in Ossian Cage and includes nearly every other achievement associated with the trial. All that effort deserves a cool mount, and this one certainly is. I mean, it's very Molag Bal, but in that context, it's cool. It does make the dolmen sound when you mount up, which had me looking frantically for Reaper Strikes every time until I figured it out. Next up, we'll be looking at the 2 new mementos from Western Solstice. Both are available from completing quests. The first, the Red Revelry bottle, is earned by completing the second step in the main zone story of Solstice, the Regent of Sunport. That, in turn, unlocks the achievement Sunport Savior, which drops the memento. Our second memento comes from unlocking the achievement associated with finishing the quest for Western Solstice public dungeon Ditra Grotto. Titles are the last batch of rewards we'll cover before looking at subclassing. There are 7 new ones, most of them coming from the Ossian Cage trial. Here is the list with the associated achievements. That is the end of the rewards per se, but subclassing might be considered a reward, and I'm certainly not going to leave it out entirely. So let's take a quick look. In order to access subclassing, you must have at least one character on the account that has hit level 50. Then you find the NPC, and you can make that part easy on yourself by picking up the quest for free in the Prown Store. Once you find her, you'll need to complete her quest, but it goes extremely quickly. You just have to talk to her, and most of her dialogue can be skipped. This isn't like scribing in the Scalarium. You'll be done in like 5 minutes. Speaking to this NPC will open up the subclassing menu. Subclassing allows you to swap out an entire class skill line, ultimate, skills, and passives, for a skill line from a different class. You can swap out 1 or 2 class skill lines, but the 2 that you swap out have to be from different classes. So my sorcerer can bring in 1 Dragon Knight class line, but not 2 Dragon Knight class lines. Or she could have 1 Dragon Knight and say a Templar line, but not 2 Templar lines. Once you have spoken with the NPC, your skills will be reset. You will have to return to her to swap lines again, and there is a small cost for that, but it isn't bad. However, subclassing is fully compatible with the armory. Whatever lines you have when you save the build will return without going back to the NPC, just like using the armory keeps you from having to return to the city shrines. If you have the armory assistant, you'll be able to switch those skill lines on the fly in most situations. When you acquire the new skill line, it will be developed to the point of the morph if you have a character on your account who has leveled up that skill line that you are bringing in. In the unlikely event that you like a skill enough to subclass it but don't have it leveled up on your account, then the character who is getting it will have to level it up. It takes twice as long, literally twice as many skill points, to level up a class skill on a character of a different class. So if you have skill lines you want to use in subclassing, finish leveling them up before June if they aren't already. In any case, a character who is subclassing will still have to morph the skill and then level it up from the morph. If you have a stack of experience point scrolls in the bank, keep them around to use in June to level up your new skill lines. And one last note about subclassing. If you are wondering if you can make yourself a pet army and how many pets you'll be able to summon at once, the answer is yes, and 10 in PvE and 5 in PvP. Zos put that cap in just for you if you were the one thinking about it. No shame, just acknowledgement. In a sense, it's an accomplishment. So yes, 10 in PvE, 5 in PvP environments, and have fun with your army. That is the end of the subclassing quest and options menu. After you have completed the quest and swapped skill lines for the first time, subsequent visits to make changes will cost gold. And now it's time for charts, because I'm that kind of geek. Screen cap if you like. While we're looking through those, I'll cover some of the other changes coming with Update 46, Season of the Worm Part 1. Console players will be able to use add-ons with Update 46, and there was much rejoicing. With Update 46, new Master Writs you receive from Daily Crafting Writs will no longer become individual items in your inventory. Instead, Master Writs will fall into envelopes, 1 envelope per each type of crafting writ. You will be holding, for example, a blacksmithing writ envelope for blacksmithing writs and an enchanting writ envelope for enchanting writs. Subsequent Master Writs of the same type will then fall into their associated envelopes as well, so even if you have, say, a dozen blacksmithing Master Writs, they will only take up 1 inventory slot. You'll only ever be carrying up to 7 envelopes from that point. The Housing Editor UI will gain a new function with Update 46. It is called Retrieve To. Retrieve To enables us to send a selected furnishing from the house straight to a storage location, like the furnishing vault, the bank, or a storage container. That is going to be a huge time saver once I get used to using it. Yay! In the Cyrodiil Vengeance campaign, skill lines for weapons, assault, and support will be added when Update 46 drops. Also, and I'm very excited about this one, Siege merchants will sell tri-stat restoration potions for AP. Forget skooma, that's the thing I can't get enough of. Continuing to make re-entry easier for returning players, Zos is adding a Hero's Return quest and a series of golden pursuits that lead players through the game's major content areas. It does a great job of introducing many components of a big game in a logical progression. The last of the miscellaneous updates is that the UI has been modernized, as you may have noticed during this video. The fluffy edges are gone and everything looks cleaner and sleeker now. And that, my fellow Tamrielites, are all the rewards and some of the changes coming with Update 46 Season of the Worm Cult Part 1. Before I go, a quick reminder that leaving a comment on the video will enter you to win one of the code giveaways. But even if you aren't interested in doing that, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I talked before about ways to make the algorithm happy, but one of the things it loves the most is viewers sticking around to the end, so that's support too. For my part, I appreciate that you took the time out of your day to spend with me. Thank you for that, as always. I look forward to having you back in my little corner of the internet soon, but until then, thanks for watching, and may all your loots be leet.